Welcome to the Can't Stop the Growth podcast, the home service podcast dedicated to personal and leadership development. I'm your host, Chad Peterman, and if you're ready to grow as a leader, you've come to the right place. Let's jump in. Stretching your leadership muscles. So what do we mean? Obviously, everybody knows about stretching, touching your toes, or getting out of bed and stretching your arms, or whatever that is. And leadership works in much the same way. Oftentimes, when you stretch, if you haven't stretched in a while, it kind of hurts. In fact, it can hurt pretty darn bad, to the point where you may stretch and then you immediately stop. And so there's often times in when we look at leadership that we can do that as well. And not even leadership, but our own just growth and improvement in our lives can oftentimes be stopped by things in our lives that may hurt or may be uncomfortable or may not go with what it is that we're typically used to doing. And so what I want to talk about today, I've got 5 different areas where I feel like in leadership, stretching in these areas is extremely important. So we often talk about, get comfortable with discomfort and, find that area where, maybe things aren't as easy as they should be, because ultimately that is where we're going to grow. And so one of the areas that constantly reminds me of this, and this is probably something extremely nerdy, but I enjoy working out and I've been lifting weights since playing football probably since I was 13 or 14 years old. And it used to just be because, you needed to get big and strong to play football and all of that stuff. And later in life, it's for other reasons. But one of the things that I've more recently, as I've talked about this and mindset and different stuff like that, is really tried to understand, or really not even understand, but just taken notice of how much the mind affects what we can actually do physically. And so the example of that is, with my trainer right now, there's often times when, I'm not trying to lift big, heavy weights. Sometimes when he says I'm like, I'm not training for anything. I just want to be able to walk tomorrow. All right. So we don't need to get too crazy here. But there's often times where he says, I'll say, well, how many do you want me to do? He goes, till failure. And I always pause and I'm like, well, I get that. But like how many are you thinking here? So I can have a number to shoot for. And so what I have learned is that failure is, as it relates to lifting, is a mental thing, right? It's not a physical thing, because if you get to 10, can you do one more? Well, probably. If you get to 11, could you do just one more? Yeah, you probably could. But do you quit at 10 because it starts to hurt, or do you do 2 more? And so try that next time that you're doing something, just, okay, I'm going to do this till failure. It really screws with your mind. It really does. And you can tell when, after you've done that for a while, because there's certain days when you feel better than others, right? I'll walk in some days, I'm real pumped up and going to have a great workout and it's going to be awesome. There's other days where I'm like, gee, many Christmas, what am I doing here? And that affects you. Well, that's not physical. I have the same strength, relative as a week ago that I do today. But my mindset's different. And so thinking about that and understanding that our mind is going to play a huge part in who we are and who we show up as in our lives. Think about sales. Think about service. Think about those calls that you've showed up and, you're just not feeling so hot. How do those typically go versus calls when, you're having a great day. It's, you're looking forward to the weekend. Things are going great. You walk in and, starting up a conversation is just that much easier with the customer, isn't it? It just goes easy. And then other days it feels like it's pulling teeth. You just can't, nothing's going right. It just continues to, one thing after the other. And so why is that? Well, the reason is because our mind is there to keep us safe, keep us from experiencing discomfort. And so understanding that, and understanding that in order to grow, we've got to lean into that. We've got to lean into those times, lean into that failure, and understand that we have to stretch as people each and every day. There is no day that we can just mail it in. Now, that doesn't mean you can't take a vacation or you can't relax or anything like that, but think about all those. That's what I find that funny. What, you mean we can't ever take a day off? I go, no. Let's just focus on the days when we're actually supposed to be present. Are you really present? Just take those, for instance. You can take the weekend off. That's great. Go do your thing. But focus on the days when you are called to be present, be a leader, be great at what it is that you do. Maxwell talks about what he calls the law of the rubber band. And it took me a minute to get this analogy, but now I do. So see if you follow me here. So he talks about a rubber band is useless if there is no tension on it. I started to think about that. I was like, yeah, really is. It's fairly useless if there is no tension put on the rubber band. It's not going to hold anything together. It's not going to, there's nothing, it just sits there. And so what he talks about is that we as people must have that tension, must create that tension. So how do we do that? Well, we do that by simply doing the things that we know that we need to do. And that's the most frustrating part about growth and leadership, isn't it? Because it isn't like we don't know what to do. It's just we don't feel comfortable being uncomfortable. You know what to do. Everybody knows what to do. If you want to, if I want to lose weight, I've got a pretty good idea of what to do and what not to do. However, I'm probably going to have a few beers tonight. So that's not what you're supposed to do. But I know that. But also having that beer or two tonight on a Friday to celebrate a week and, just relax, and we got a good weekend coming up with a birthday party and the whole bit, that's comfortable. But if I wanted to lose weight, I'd have to get uncomfortable. I'd have to do something that maybe I didn't want to do, like eat healthy all week, not drink, work out. Weight loss is you got to pull in less calories or burn more calories than you pull in. Pretty simple equation. I mean, it's not hard math. It's just subtraction. Leadership is the same exact way. If you asked anybody in an open setting, what are the qualities of a good leader? Guess what? Just about everybody could rattle off 5 to 10 things that would be really good if a leader had those qualities. But do you exhibit those qualities? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe sometimes, maybe not others. If I asked Braxton, what are the qualities of a great comfort advisor? He could probably rattle them all off. Yeah, I found this to work and all of these things. But some of them are uncomfortable. Some of them are easier to say than they are to do. That's life, right? I stand up here every day or every other Friday and talk about leadership, this, that, and the other. What I can tell you is that I probably failed 3 or 4 times as a leader this week. Because it was uncomfortable. I didn't want to have that hard conversation. Shoot, just, hopefully they'll figure it out. Because it was uncomfortable, and I don't want to do that at that time. So what we've got to do is we've got to find that discomfort. Think about those things that we need to do, but we don't, when it comes time or we get there, waking up early. You guys are all here this morning. I'm sure there were some that thought about it, but the bed was a lot more comfortable than getting up, getting dressed, and getting in here. That's okay. We've all done that. I've talked about it many a times. I bought the bed that I have because it's comfortable. I didn't buy an uncomfortable one. I guess you could trick yourself and sleep on the floor or something like that, but you may not be able to get up in the morning. But yeah, I bought the bed because it was comfortable. Maybe that's the wrong thing to do. I don't know. But I certainly do like it. We have to find that tension. Find that tension. When we find it, growth happens. When we find it, we're able to grow as a leader, able to grow as a parent, able to grow as a friend. Parenting is another thing. Think about how many times, I could have done the right thing, but God, I'm just so tired. Just go play or do whatever that you probably shouldn't do, but God, I don't want to argue about it, I'll admit I've probably given Blake candy in the morning before school because I didn't want to deal with it. I got a lot of bags in my hand. Just come on, let's go. Get out the door. I got a meeting. Let's go. Okay. And she's smart enough. That's probably going to bite me here. Well, it probably already has. So finding that discomfort. So the next part, number 2 of this talk is another kind of uncomfortable thing is where are we setting our goals? Talked about, a set till failure. But what is it that where is it that we're setting our goals? Because ultimately, goals are simply a means of measuring our potential. And wherever we set our goal, we oftentimes limit our potential. What I've learned over the years is, we have probably over the last, since we've really seriously, started setting goals and different stuff like that, I would say that probably of the last 5 years, we've hit and exceeded our goal every single year. And a lot of people would cheer about that, oh, that's awesome, that's great. And I did it. I did the same thing. Yeah, right on. Look at us. But then it got me thinking, what are all the things that we weren't doing because we set our goal there that would have taken us even further? Now, again, some of those, I get it. This is more of an overview, okay? Some would say, well, you could have, that would have cost more money and, things could have got, yes, absolutely. But just humor me here with this example. If we were to, think about if you set your own monthly goal, well, this is the most I've ever done, and you said, well, I'm going to do double that next month. Well, the cool thing is with most goals, pretty much any goal, is that it's a math equation, right? You start with a number, and you work back all the way to the day, and you know what you have to do on each call or each whatever it is. If your goal is to read the most pages you've ever read in a book in a month is 500 and you want to read 1,000, well, you just take 1,000, divide it by how many days are in the month, and on a daily basis how many pages you got to read. Works with every goal. But our goals, and I've said this many a times, goals are not meant to be achieved. They're meant to help us act appropriate in the moment. So if your monthly goal was, or the most you've ever done is 40,000 in a month, and you say, well, by God, this month in August, we're only a couple days in, I'm going to do 80. How would that impact your behavior on every call that you ran? if that was your goal. Again, you don't have to believe that it's possible. You just have to be willing to act in accordance with that goal. You may not hit 80. That's not a failure. Because if you set your goal at 40, what do you think you're going to do when you get close? Mail it in. If you're at 80, you ain't ever going to mail it in because you got a long way to go. So that's going to pull you even closer to your potential. Think about that. Think about a goal that you've set here recently. And think about all the things that you know you'd have to do to hit it. What I will tell you is that more than likely, if you reanalyze that goal, you set it so that all your actions in order to achieve it are fairly comfortable. That's human nature. That makes sense, right? Hey, there's a goal here. Yeah, it'd be great if I achieved it, but I can be pretty comfortable, and I may have to do a little bit extra, but I think I can hit it. But, other than that, it's going to be pretty smooth sailing because I know I can do that. Get out of the mindset of, I know I can do that. And start getting in the mindset of, I'm not really sure how I'm going to make that happen. Because then you got to start thinking. Then you got to start getting outside the box. Then you've got to start asking people. Then you've got to start reading. Then you got to start improving. And, oh, look, there comes growth. Find that. Find that goal that says, well, I don't know if that's possible. Good. That's a great place to start. Now, don't be the person who trots around going, oh yeah, I think I'm going to do this, and then you do a third of that. Because guess what that means? You were just all talk. You didn't do anything that was remotely uncomfortable in order to hit that goal. All you did was say it because, well, it sounded cool. You better come pretty damn close to it, or else you set the goal for the wrong reason. You didn't really set a goal, you just said something. What does that look like? One story that I've shared with before that was an early learning lesson for me that I did not learn in the moment, but I look back on it and it guides my actions still today, is when I was in college. So, short story here, in high school, played on extremely successful teams and this, that, and the other, and, had a lot of momentum going into college, and this was going to be my thing, and I had all these grand goals, but I was the person who said them and didn't yet understand the importance of acting in accordance with achieving those. My goal was to be, my senior year was to be an All-American, and I never achieved that. And I look back today on my actions during my senior year, even my junior year leading up to it, and what I did in the off season and all of that. And if that was how an All-American acted, well, then there was surely going to be a lot of them, like multiple, hundreds of them per position, if that's all you had to do to be an All-American. Well, what I know now and what I look back on is that there was only one or two All-Americans in the entire country. So they were probably acting a whole hell of a lot different than everybody else in the country. Well, I wasn't willing to do that. I didn't really know that. Not an excuse, I just literally had not discovered that that was what is needed to achieve a goal. And I think a lot of that was because I was fortunate enough to play on really successful teams. So, whatever you did, if you win the trophy at the end of the year, well, then I must have done enough, right? Well, sort of, but did you really reach your potential? There again, you may do, a little bit more than what you've ever done, and you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, I just took home more money this month than I ever have. Like, this is awesome. But what if you would have done double? That's the thing to think about. If you take away one thing, take away that story, because I probably think about it at least 3 to 4 times a week on when, and it's mostly when at the end of the day, there's like 3 or 4 things left on my list of things to do. And guess what? It's really easy just to pack up my bag and head on home. It is. I mean, I just pack it up and I just walk down the stairs and head on home. No one's there to check in. No one's there to say, hey, where are you going? Usually it's like, hey, have a great night. Like everybody's excited for me. But that's not what we're chasing. That's me acting like everybody else in the country, not the 1 or 2 that's actually going to make an impact. And so think about that. Think about that the next time you get a little bit tired, or the day's not going right, or, you've set a goal and it may not be high enough. Because again, a goal is not meant to be achieved. A goal is meant to direct our actions throughout the course of that time period. Next up is one of my favorites, taking off your tool belt. And what do I mean by that? In leadership, oftentimes leaders of, managers, whatever it may be, get to where they are because they were the best, whatever it was. They were the best technician. They were the best installer. They were the best whatever it is. And naturally you say, well, shoot, you should lead the department. You should manage the department. Well, what they don't tell that person, and we have been guilty of this and are trying very, very hard to fix it, is that managing a department, leading a branch, whatever it may be, involves very little technical ability. Because as the leader, you can't use your tool belt. Those tools that you used to use to fix an air conditioner or plumb in a water heater or fix an electrical panel, you don't get to do that anymore. It's not what you're going to do on a daily basis. Cynic says, leadership is not about taking charge, but about caring about those in our charge. So this is what I try to relay to, especially people that come from an individual contributor role in the field into leadership, is that, hey, I know you were a damn good technician, but you don't get to do that anymore. Huh? No, you don't get to run any more calls. You're done running calls. You run no more calls. Well, but nope, no more calls. So, are you going to try to run calls still by micromanaging your team? Or are you going to care about them? Are you going to show them that you have a genuine interest in them? Are you going to look to remove roadblocks so that they can be successful on that call? This is a tough concept. Why? Because it's uncomfortable. You, for however many years, have done this one thing. You've gotten really, really good at it. I mean, there's no one better. And now you've got to take off your tool belt as a technician or a, individual contributor, whatever that may be, and you've got to lean into others doing the work. It's one of the hardest things to do. But what that does if you're not willing to take off that tool belt and breathe life into others, is it will always restrict your growth. You know how I know this? Because I've seen people struggle with this, struggle mightily. My dad's one of them. My dad today, I kid you not, and I'm not talking bad about him, he knows this. So he has a remote desktop. What I mean by that is if he's wherever he is and he has his computer up or his laptop, you can see his mouse move across his computer because he's remoting into his computer. So if you were to open his door today, and he's on his computer, you'll see his mouse, you can see what he's doing on his computer. I say this because it's quite funny to watch. I oftentimes point it out because, do you know what he's doing? He's going in to individual calls and seeing what's going on. Because he wants that control. I can't tell you the last time that I've looked into an individual call. And part of that is I don't know how to do that stuff. Two is the trust that I have in the team that we have out there. And it's not to say he doesn't trust everybody out there. It's just that he struggles with that tool belt. He struggles with taking hands off, putting trust in those that are running those things and letting it run, which is fine. He never wanted the place to be this big in the first place. He liked it where it was. That was his comfort zone. He was damn good at it. But if you want to expand, if you want to grow, we grow by empowering others. You, as one person, only have so many hours in the day. You can only do so much. You can only run so many calls. You can only install so many systems. You can only sell so many systems. But when we empower others, when we support them, guess what? We can run a whole lot of calls. Today, as a company, we'll go into close to 500 homes today. Well, one person can't go into 500 homes in a day. Can't do that. But if you as a leader don't understand what taking off your individual contributor tool belt, because you're not an individual contributor anymore. You're actually not a contributor at all as it relates to results. You're not going out and selling anything. You're not going out and fixing anything. You're not. You are simply supporting those that are. Now, when I say you're not contributing, that doesn't mean that you don't play a part in it. It just means that, there isn't going to be any revenue attached to your name at the end of the day. And you got to be okay with that. You've got to be okay seeing others succeed, taking a back seat, understanding that you may not get a thank you and a pat on the back, but that's okay, because the impact you're making is far bigger than a pat on the back. Because you have the ability to make it across a bunch of people. That's the cool part about leadership. Next up, stop, reframe, plan, don't react. Stop, reframe, plan, don't react. Think about the last time someone really pissed you off. You're probably thinking about it right now, like, yeah, I'm going to say something right there. Yeah, I'm going to get him. Who has ever seen something happen, stopped, went, slept on it, woke up the next morning, had a completely different outlook? Why is that? Well, because you stopped, you reframed, and figured out a new plan. This was one of the most important, I think it's one of the most important things of leadership, because it is one of the hardest things to do as a human, right? Something happens, you want to react. Well, I can fix that, I know the answer, I'll get it. Oh, no, but you're wrong. Think about in relationships. I have to really work at this at home. Because at home, you're even more comfortable, right? I've lived with this person for years. She does something to make me mad, shoot, I'm going to tell her about it. Scott knows what I'm talking about. Reaction is the human side. Stopping, reframing, and planning is the leadership side. We're not wired to be leaders. We're wired to protect ourselves. That's a good thing, by the way. You know, it keeps us out of danger, keeps us safe, keeps us alive. But when we want to serve others, we have to kind of rewire. Leadership is a learned skill. It's just a matter of if you want to learn it or not. It's a matter of if you want to be a little bit uncomfortable. Because it is, right? Like reacting, doing something immediately, like that makes me feel good. I'm going to be right. You're wrong in this situation. Or I'm going to right this wrong because of what you did. But what does it look like if we reframe, and I've talked about this a bunch, if we reframe for ownership? Why did that person do that? Why is this bothering me? Why is it that I want to be right? When we stop and reframe things, and we reframe it for ownership, for taking control of the situation, you garner a hell of a lot more power than reacting and being right in that very moment. Because when you reframe situations as to, well, how could I have helped this? Well, how could maybe I have gotten better that this didn't happen? You know, I talk about this all the time with the dishes story, right? And my wife, some odd reason, she leaves the dishes in the sink. I don't like that. But if I reframe it, like, why'd she put them in there? And leave it. Well, maybe that's what they did at their house. I know that's what they did at their house because my mother-in-law stays over at our house sometimes, and she does the exact same thing. Two peas in a pod. Now, I love my mother-in-law. I love my wife. But there's also things that I do that are really annoying. I know that. I'm kind of an annoying person when it comes to like the way I like things and understand things. And, you know, I like to take all the bags out to the car before I get the kids because I don't like carrying the kids with all the bags. It makes me frustrated. That may sound stupid to some people. It could be annoying. But what I have done is reframed any time that I see dishes is, well, this is a great opportunity to help out my wife. Maybe she had a long night. Maybe she was up with the baby and I was sleeping. I'm a heavy sleeper, she says. I do not wake. You got to hit me over the head with a bat to wake me up. But how can we reframe things in our life that are either annoying to us, keep us from achieving what it is that we want, our interactions with others? You know, there's oftentimes in business, especially with kind of my daily interactions, where if I were to like blame everybody else, that wouldn't be a good place to work. That would actually kind of suck. But I can tell you there are times when my natural reaction is to blame somebody. Why in the hell would you do that? Come on, man. Why? But what I've learned to do, and it's not easy, it isn't, because you've got to learn to identify that reaction and not do it. You know, sometimes when a customer sends me an email or texts me or something like that, and they're completely in the wrong, I'll type you up something, sir. Watch this. And what I've learned to do is just do nothing. Sometimes doing nothing is the best thing that you can do, because it allows you time to reframe and plan. You know what? Maybe that customer just doesn't understand. Maybe we didn't do a good job explaining it. Maybe it is what it is. Maybe I can help this situation by explaining it. Maybe they just want to vent and they just want to let us know that they didn't really like how it went down. And hell, a lot of times I agree with them. We dropped the ball a couple times. I apologize. No one called you back. Hey, we're here. We'll fix it. Calm them down. It's not the end of the world. It's literally your water heater. Be good. You know, you didn't care about it a day ago, and now it's like the greatest, you know, it's the most important thing in your life. Like, just calm down. It'll be good. We'll get you. We'll get you. Some people amaze me. I'm like, I've never been that mad in my entire life. This is a leaky faucet. My Lord. You really care about that faucet. I want to get it fixed for you. I get it. We dropped the ball. But where can we reframe in our lives that will help us solve problems? No problem has ever been solved with a reaction. It can't be. Because a reaction automatically elicits another reaction from somebody else. And then it's just reactions going back and forth, and nothing ever gets solved. No one ever moves forward. But it's the time when you've trained yourself to understand that, yes, that hurt my feelings. Yes, I don't feel great about this. Yes, I want to scream at you. Yes, I want to say some mean words to you, but I'm not. And I'm going to take some time, and I'm going to try to figure out how I can better this situation. And what happens is you start to train those around you to do the exact same thing. And ultimately, that is what leadership is about. Because people, think about parents. Where do children get most of their habits? From their parents. Well, it's not like we wrote them down in a bulleted list. It's they saw us doing these things. Same thing in leadership. Are you going to be the leader that just goes off the handle and just reacts at everything? Like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Oh my God, this is terrible. Blah, 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 blah. Like, no one's going to follow that. It sounds awful. What people are going to follow is, okay, we have a situation here. What can we do to fix it? Let's get it fixed for the customer, and then let's sit down tomorrow and let's just kind of rehash this. Like, tell me a little bit about what you were thinking here. Where'd you go down this path? Usually what happens is they know the answer. They just goofed. Okay, it's going to happen. You know, no one's perfect. Stuff happens. Just try not to do it again. Let's get a little better. We can learn from that. That's not the easy thing to do. Because in the heat of the moment, we all want to act human. Think more about acting like a leader and not so much like everybody else in this world. I say everybody else in this world because, well, you know what I mean. Watch the news or TV in general. It's awful. Last one, as we wrap up here. Get my screen to go. There we go. The last one, and this kind of goes along with kind of reframing, is to curate your environment. What do I mean by that? Well, the great thing about leadership is we have complete control of it. Regardless if you lead someone else, like in the org chart or not. If you're an individual contributor, how can you be a leader? Well, you can be a leader by being pleasant to be around. May sound stupid, but you can be a leader by just simply being pleasant to be around. By saying hi to people and, how's it going? How's your day? How's your weekend? Doing good? Great. Can I do anything for you? No? Okay, cool. Well, have a great day. Why is that being a leader? Because you're curating the environment that others are in. What do others do when you're in a good mood? Typically, there are some out there that are strange, but typically they're going to be in a good mood too, right? They're going to, hey, well, shoot, you guys in a good mood? Just kind of feeling bad, feel a little bit better now. How are you doing? Starts to snowball here. I talk a lot about just being in a good mood as like 3/4 of the battle. Waking up and wanting to help somebody. Hey, can I give you a hand with that? Hey, how's your kid doing? Good? Awesome. It's great. Good for you. Little things like that will make you a leader. Be enjoyable to be around. Guess what? People like following those people. I don't know how many times, you just, my brother and I will talk, and obviously with as many people as we have, you don't have as deep of a relationship with everybody. Some deeper than others if you worked with them for a long time or not. But, the one thing that I always start a conversation about when we talk about, I don't technically promote a whole lot of people, but, if someone's talking about, hey, this person's going to move up to this, or they're going to maybe go try this department, is you know what? They're a good guy. Or God, she's awesome. I just really enjoy being around her. When I think the one department that I think just does a tremendous job with this, I love, and this isn't to take away from any other department, but our recruiting department, if you interact with any of them on a daily basis at all, they're the happiest people on the face of the planet. I'm it is so great that you guys are the first people that want to come on board talk to, because you guys, I don't know what it is you're doing down here, but I kind of want to move my desk down here and just kind of be around you. Just see what's going on, They are just so excited. Well, guess what? All of those people, if someone said, well, we're thinking about giving this abso-freaking-lutely. I don't know a thing about, their skill. I mean, I've seen it in action, but, I don't know, if you want to move them there, I'm not sure. But you know what? I know you're a great person. And with a great person, we can probably teach you whatever it is that you need to know over here. What it's going to be really hard to teach you over here is if you're an ass. Then I got to okay, how are we going to do this one? No one really likes them, so, how are we going to do this? And trust me, I've done it before. It's not fun. And we're saying, well, guess this is all we got, so let's give it a rip. Guess how that works out? It doesn't. Trust me, I've done it. Unfortunately, more than once. But hey, we're getting better. We're trying. Sometimes I'm a slow learner. But there again, when I think about a leader or manager, oftentimes we think manager, well, you have this goal to hit, you better hit it or else. And I'm more of the we need to, when we're looking for leaders, does that person put care before the results, or do they put results before the care? Is the only way that they're going to care about someone on their team is that if they do something good, or do they just care about everybody on their team and want to see everybody succeed and know that some are going to be better than others, and some are going to have off months, some are going to have stuff going on in their lives, and you just have an off month, and that's okay. We're here to support you and stand behind you, and by God, let's go do better next month. When you are a leader, results come as a result of caring. Caring, being a nice person. Again, leadership is super, super simple. Guess what I don't know any more than anybody else? I mean, we've literally just tried to build a company on just like caring about people. Like, hey, we really care about everybody. Like, what's your secret to growth? We like really care about everybody that we got on our team? What do you mean? No, seriously. We just care about everybody. I don't get it. You don't. What's your sales? I don't. Whatever. We'll take care of it. Yeah, we want to get good. We want to try to, try different things and, measure different things and see if that produces more results and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we're not doing it for the results. We're doing it because, like, hanging out with 500 people is pretty damn cool when everybody cares about each other. That's kind of hard to find in this world anymore. I enjoy that. That's why I like coming to work. Seeing everybody. Yeah, we do some really cool things, but we do really cool things because, for the most part, I think everybody cares about one another. Are there times when we slip up and someone says, you know what, that didn't really feel like you cared about me? Absolutely. We're going to do that all the time. Hell, I do that in my marriage. Hey, honey, it didn't really feel like you cared about me when you did this. You are correct. That was bad on my part. I apologize. I'm going to do better. But it's that give and take. It's that understanding that, especially in, marriage, is like, I love you more than anything. So, yeah, I'm going to screw up sometimes, and it's going to feel like I don't love you in that moment. But I do. I care about you. And so there's ebb and flow. There's good days. There's bad days. There's all of this stuff. But at the end of the day, if we all curate an environment of caring around this place, if you can curate an environment within your department, if you're that person that walks into the, department meeting and, you're upbeat and happy and want to participate and all that stuff, that rubs off. That's the person that someone's going to lean on. Because, it's common sense. I'd rather lean on that person than some ass over in the corner. I've been cussing a lot, sorry. But it's true. I feel like it's good to do sometimes when you're trying to get a point across. Like, this isn't super hard. Again, when you can't figure out why people won't follow you, look in the mirror. It ain't them. It ain't them. Never is. Never is. So again, as we wrap up here, we have to find that tension. Maxwell talked about it in the law of the rubber band. We want to find that discomfort. We're going to create discomfort by setting those goals that are a little bit scary, that we may not have a plan to achieve them, but we can figure one out. Then we're going to understand that leadership is different than what you maybe do on a daily basis. It is not the task itself. It is supporting those that do the task. It's stopping, reframing, planning, and not reacting. And finally, it's about curating your environment. You play an extremely important role. The bigger role that you think you play in life, in this company, wherever it is, the bigger role that you think you play, the more impact that you think you have, is very similar to setting a very, very high goal. The more you think you have, the more you act like you have, the more you truly will have. So go out there today and understand that everyone is a leader in their own way. And if you want to rise up to your potential, go be a leader. That's where it's at. You can lead today regardless of what you're doing. You can lead a customer. You can lead those on your team. You can lead at home. There are not leaders and followers. There are those that choose to be leaders. Everyone has the potential to do it. And you do it every single day with your actions.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, I would greatly appreciate if you would rate the show or share it with someone who might enjoy it. As the name suggests, we are always looking to grow, so let me know in the comments what you thought and if there is anything you would like to hear on future episodes. Come back again soon, and always keep growing out there.